Okay, and welcome back to Supernova Labs. So, I've been going through the process over the past 6 to 12 months of re-establishing what is Supernova Labs and where do I really want to take it in the future. I've run physical spaces in the past, but I don't think the model and the incentives were quite aligned in the right way. And I wanted to go through exactly what Supernova Labs is because I saw a tweet from Peter Diamandis. For those that don't know, he's a billionaire out in Silicon Valley who runs the X Prize. And I mean, a lot of where Supernova Labs came from was a lot of the work surrounding Singularity University, surrounding like the Singularity in general, like how do you prepare people for that world where technology is moving so fast that it's nearly impossible to retrain and like to get like fresh information into your brain. Like how do you like reimagine institutions for that world? And it's funny that this happens now because like I've got this copy of Bold I got from a friend of mine, Doug Ward, here in Manchester. I probably need to give this back to him to be honest. But a lot of what it lays out in that book is about exponential technologies, about the rate of improvement and like specific areas, so like AI, manufacturing, all that, and how to get ahead of these trends. So off the basis of that, that's the foundation on which we built Supernova Labs. So this video is kind of a response to that tweet. Because I think while I don't entirely agree with the dynamics surrounding money and power at the minute, I think that ultimately I've got to work within the systems that exist. So this is, I don't want to say a pitch, but it may be a pitch. So the problem that Supernova Labs is trying to solve is access to training and coordinating networks of resources and skills worldwide. Because when we're facing challenges like that are on like an existential threat level, like climate change or like space debris, the current systems and economics surrounding them aren't fit for purpose, and we need to upgrade that whole network by providing something that sits beneath traditional structures to knit all these different systems and cultural systems and economic systems together so that they can coordinate and act effectively without becoming some Borg-like entity. So we wanted to build a network of labs and have them be self-replicating around population centers, producing open data sets on how they're being used and what resources are being used, like what products are being built out of them, so there's actionable data at scale. But focused very much on the whole Fab Lab model of like local solutions, but at global scale. Now, one of the outcomes of the physical lab that we had in London was we developed we kind of adapted a design from the Open Space Agency for container labs, where it would be a completely self-contained unit with all the tools to build and support like disaster relief or like get people started with basic making skills and like basic business support, which is good, but I don't know if it goes far enough. Because if you're not creating a decentralized economy and incentive structures for new ways of working, for people to create their own businesses, to be able to leave their job and explore and like actually these ideas that people have worldwide, or even solutions that may already exist worldwide but need floating to the surface, like if people don't have the right incentives to go in and produce them and contribute to a network of knowledge, it isn't going to happen, and you're going to be stuck where we are right now, which is where people are kind of not able to effectively coordinate because they're stuck in a 9 to 5 job. Now, with that, I remember speaking to somebody, I think they were part of the Singularity Network, about deploying these kind of containers, like containers that can like fold out and like have all of the tools for people to build their own businesses. And one of the things that they brought back to me then was, how do you make it contextually relevant? Because there are so many companies that throw millions and billions of dollars at water purification devices, at some panacea technology that's going to solve every poor kid in Africa and in the third world's issues, but then it's built on the highest the highest available technology, and as soon as one bolt shears, it's just a lump of metal stuck in the middle of nowhere, where there's no support networks to repair it or to rebuild it. One fine example of this was a water pump was installed in Africa in the 70s, and we had people coming into the Fab Lab London asking us, well, can you find us the designs for this, because there are rubber gaskets on these water pumps that once they fail, there's no networks to repair it or rebuild it, so you've effectively got a defunct piece of hardware, and then the town's stuck without water again. So one thing we wanted to do with these containers is, I think there's an element of it where, yes, you can put a lot of tools and technology, and I think just having in a baseline of tools and technology will support anyone in building anything. But making sure that, one, it's off grid, so we're not dealing with any issues about local power sources and like maybe spotty power there, and it also can connect to either Starlink or some other satellite constellation. You're then completely independent from any local infrastructure, which means that you can drop into the middle of nowhere. Suppose there is some town into the Sahara Desert that has like run out of water and needs some kind of solution to it. You can drop in with a container lab and a wiki that has this global network of knowledge you can pull from, to be like, okay, well, like, what's the culturally relevant things that we can do here? What are the contextually relevant stuff that we can do? What local materials do we have? And how can we adapt these designs? Now, the reason for this is it's kind of like the natural evolution of the Fab Lab model, that it becomes like this like super like hyper deployable thing that people can just operate, and that also have this element to them, like the whole element of cryptocurrency I've seen in the past, where there are like flowers that have a wallet associated with them, and you can donate to the flower, and at the point that it has enough money, it will automatically subcontract another artist to build another flower. So this is kind of the model I was talking about in terms of self-replication, but that's probably a discussion for another time. Now, the ultimate aim of this is so that it's a set and forget system that can self-replicate around communities that they build. And they have all the tools, they have the internet connectivity, they have the business tools, so that people can build themselves. It's not, I'm coming in with some grand idea and you have to do it my way. It's, I have built this tool for you to be as general as possible. It's up to you now to come in here, produce businesses, produce products out of these spaces, so that, one, these labs can they can sustain themselves, and two, they can replicate to the local community that you maybe come from, that's maybe a bit further away from the main lab, and you end up with these like kind of fractal labs spawning along the network paths. Now, is 5 million gonna scratch the surface of that? Probably not. What I would want to do is put that towards redeveloping the Open Space Agency's container lab, so there is this self-replicable unit. that is off grid, that has access to Starlink, that has the tools in it, so you can just drop it in anywhere and get started rebuilding an economy with, how do I define this? With all the knowledge they need to solve problems for themselves, because I think that's one of the biggest issues with I don't know, big tech in general. Is I think that there is this mindset of like, I have the tool, so I can solve all your problems for you with this tool, and there's no way that anybody can have all the information they need to understand the variety, the sheer diversity of like cultural and context this kind of thing would end up in. So they always end up tripping over themselves because it's not general enough so that it's almost self-governing. Like, you don't want to be overriding any local laws, any local customs, but you also want to be providing people with the tools so they can build for themselves. And I hope that a lot of the work that we've put in has defined something that may meet that criteria. So while, again, the power dynamics surrounding money and the X Prize are a bit problematic, I think that it would go a long way towards exploring this idea further. And I've always said that the time to do this was yesterday, and ultimately it takes a grand partnership to deliver this kind of thing. I'll leave the rest up to you.